on the horizon. It's been said that those that have the eyes to see and the ears to hear will play a paramount role in the furthering of humanity and civilized society. But can civilized society and humanity survive the coming conflicts not seen since a dawn of time in ages bypast? But you can find true forms of information and knowledge in abundance at revolution.radio, freedomsluts.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the globe. Stand upon the right side of history.
General Homer, you've got to get us out of here now! I won't let you down. I won't let you down, son.
Revolution.
And good morning. Welcome to the Morning Coffee Rants with Dan. I am Dan, the Spiritual Anarchist, your host, and today is already April 30th. My God. Yeah, tomorrow's already the 1st of May. We're almost halfway through this year. April 30th in the year of all is 2026. I have absolutely nothing planned for the show today, but let's see. I have a book here that I'm going to read out of. I just opened it up briefly to see what it was about. And it says, If. The name of the book is called If. Questions for the Soul. And it's by Evelyn McFarlane and James Saywell. I'm going to get into that book in a little bit and just put myself on the spot, ask those questions, and give the answers. Rather, if I agree with what I say or not, I'll have to see. I'm going to agree with whatever I say, of course, but I may not agree with what the question is. It may actually be humorous. I'll have to see. I don't know. We'll see. What's going on in the world today? I could talk about it. I could talk about all the psyops. I could talk about we deserve better psyops. I could talk about all the ridiculousness that we see on the news and all the ridiculousness with politics and the lunatics that get into politics, because all ticks are indeed parasites. There's a lot of stuff I could talk about. I could talk about how, hey, I've been right for about 7 or 8 years on everything that's been happening, and I've been calling it in advance, and a lot of people actually have been, but it doesn't do us any good to dwell in that space, because it doesn't matter. No one cares if you're right about that. Everyone seems to be caught up in their own, fears, delusions, caught up in their own lives. They're gaslit on some things. They're in denial, and they hope certain things aren't going to happen, or they just understand that they can't control these things. So they're controlling what they can within their own lives, and what is within the locus of your control becomes the most important thing in the coming months and years, because you have a choice in literally any aspect of your life. You have a choice whether you're going to make excuses for your shortcomings or if you're going to try to improve on those and move forward empowered. I've seen in life where people will do scapegoating, because instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and really calling BS on themselves why they're in the position they're in life, they'll attach to somebody else and they'll attribute all their life's problems to that one person. That's giving somebody else way too much power. First off, you give away all your power when you do that. And no amount of lying to yourself is going to help, or I should say, no amount of lying to others, if you're one of those people. Deep down inside, you know the truth deep down inside. So you're going to be at conflict for the rest of your life. So unless you come to some type of reconciliation of those contradictions, unless you come to some kind of reconciliation for those contradictions in your belief systems, and that could be the belief of an event. And how long are you going to let those events, maintain control of your narrative and what you do with your life? If there is no self-improvement through self-reflection and introspection, there's no forward growth. And if you're one of these people who's an eternal victim, you're not a co-creator of your own reality. Sooner or later, you're going to lose everybody. People will see the truth sooner or later. There are no shortcuts. If you want to be the bee, you got to do the do. Okay? If you're gonna talk the talk, you need to walk the walk. You pick somebody that you want to be like. You don't try to destroy them because you can't be like them. You can surpass anybody you want. You can do anything you put your mind to. So, going where I was at in the beginning, I absolutely do not want to sit here and laugh about and point out the fuckery, for lack of a better word, that I see in theater on the tell lies to your vision, programming. Okay? You're allowing yourself to be programmed if you believe that. And the reason why I say this is because it takes the innate ability to be able to say, and it's not really even, it could be considered innate, because once upon a time, we as a human species, when we were fighting for our lives and working all day long to get our caloric intake for that day, we didn't have time to be dishonest and lie. So it does mean something that you have to reconcile the contradictions, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to heal wounds and move forward from them. Allow yourself to be in whatever emotion you're in over somebody's betrayal. Allow it for a while, and then you let it go and move on. There's something I want to read here. It's not even reading, it's something that I wrote down because I heard someone say it, and they didn't say who said it originally, so I can't even give credit to who said this. And I'm paraphrasing this here, but I heard this and was like, wow, I want to share this because this goes right into things I'm dealing with in my own personal life and things that I think will help heal the collective and get people to quit believing the lies they're being told and maybe stand up and say no. See, what is your yeses and what are your nos? Are you a yes to being ruled and enslaved? And are you gaslighting yourself into thinking it's what you want so you don't seem like you're weak? This is important right here. And it's about forgiveness. Forgiveness is the moment you no longer wish you could change the past. You accept it and let go of it. Because you know what you learned from it. Sometimes in life, people will, and it happens in the workplace, it happens in a lot of different places, and it happens for what we're seeing perfectly in the world right now. They will try to lie and slaughter your reputation or slaughter your name because you might stand against something that they don't want coming out, or stand against something that benefits them in some type of greedy way where they are victimizing other people. See, I don't care what people do to benefit themselves. I don't care about people who are greedy. Be greedy all you want. I don't care. I hope you have all the greed you want. Stay greedy. Greedy's good, okay? Go be greedy over there and don't hurt nobody with your greediness. The moment you start victimizing somebody else out of greed is the moment you're a piece of shit. And all we have to do is look to what's going on in the world, look to our puppeticians. And we see it. And as long as we accept lies because of contradictions that we keep in our belief systems, and as long as we don't have courage, we're going to keep accepting the rulership of others. So remember, forgiveness is that moment when you no longer wish you could change the past. You fully accept it, and you look at what you learned from it. So for me, that was looking around at people who had lied. And I didn't care about the actual liar. I really didn't care about their actions. I'd learned what they were years ago, in some cases. This is why you decide who your family is and isn't. And family is not always blood. You look at somebody's traits, what they've accomplished, what they've done, and you put them out of your life if they're not aligning with your ethics, your morals. Yes, your personal morals. If they're doing things that are objectively immoral by bringing the harm and initiating the harm to other human beings through coercion and through threats, if they're a bully. And that's all we deal with in politics, if you look at it, is a bunch of sociopathic, narcissistic psychos who always end up in positions of power. Or they end up in utter ruin, living out of someone's basement, couch surfing. The important part of forgiving somebody is also understanding some of their trauma and wishing them healing. This is on a personal level. But the people I paid attention to was the people who believed the lies. Not the person I already knew was a chaotically not good person. Somebody who's lazy, points the finger, and all these other things that they've done and never take accountability for themselves, right? I look at the people who believe the lies. Because once it's all said and done, those people I put out of my life even more so, with even more disdain. Because if they believe the lies, that means they were never for you in the first place, or they had something they held against you in the first place. Some type of resentment, some type of jealousy, and it's always going to be close friends and family. They want to see you do good, but not better than them. It won't be the ones clapping when you do good. You'll know who they are. Or they'll be the ones to call you and come around when things start to go good. When they can siphon off or suck off your energy or whatever monetary resources you can provide. And the thing about me is I provide those for free to people. When I have it, I give it. I'm not a greedy person. God's blessed me. God with a capital G. But you don't want to build your ego identity. I've seen people who've built their ego identities around politics. They've built their egoic identities around their jobs or the job they don't have or what they couldn't accomplish. Or they built it around their pain. It gives them an excuse to stay in their pathology or their dysfunction instead of actually taking a look at the dysfunction itself. If you drink and do some type of drug every day for 15 years, your brain's pickled. You're not imbalanced with it. Take a break. I don't care what people put in their body, but when what you're putting in your body is causing you to become psychotic and you're hurting other people, I care about you hurting other people. And for people out there like that, you got issues I hope you heal. Because it's your unhealed wounds that is causing the problems in this world. Yes, your wounds. You, who I'm talking to. And you know who you are. Your contradictions, your wounds cause all the evil in this world, all of it. So heal the shit. Okay? Wipe the shit off your collars and pull your head out of your ass. I have a story about that. When I was going through sniper school, it was qualification day. I had scored highest in the classroom. I shouldn't say the highest. I was in like the top 5% of the classroom in the academic part of that test. All week long, I had been shooting top scores, but this day I was just so sick of it. It had been 2 weeks long. It was just a civilian corps sharpshooter. Had headaches. Oh, it was unbelievable. This guy was a tough teacher, tough instructor. There was no multiple choice questions on the test. Whatever the answer to the question is, you had to write out exactly, and sometimes they were paragraphs, as it was in the book. If you even missed one letter, if there was a word A or the, you even missed one letter in or misspelled a word or anything, that you got that wrong. Because attention to detail becomes that important. And had been shooting at 100 yards. I was shooting clover leaves all day, or one hole actually by the end. But I was shooting like clover leaves all week long. And then that day, I just was like, I would be 1.5 inches, 2 inches apart. And, these were 2-inch circles, 3-inch circles, I think. And I'd be like, 2 of them would be in the circle, maybe 1 inch, 2 inches apart, and the other one would be a total miss. And I was just sick of it. I was missing so much. So we go up to check we go up to count our hits and misses, and you got a telescopic sight, so you can already see what your hits and misses are. And we go up to this, the targets, and the instructor looks over at me, and he's like, well, Machine Gun Dan strikes again. And listen, if you're going through a sharpshooter school, the last nickname you want to come out of it with is Machine Gun Dan, or Machine Gun anything. And I just shook my head like, what was going on? I knew what was going on after the point. I was just sick of it. It was a lot. That afternoon after lunch, about 2 hours after lunch, we did some other things, and it was time to we had a break, and it was finally time to lock in for the qualification. It was only a 10-round qualification. And I had groups that were 3 rounds in 1 hole. Missed no rounds at all. And between my academic score and then getting 100% on the range, I ended up shooting top gun in the class, which was kind of cool. That was one of my highlights. I was only like 22 years old at the time. 23, I'm sorry. I was 23. But yeah, he is the one who came up with that. That instructor told me that I had to wipe the shit off my collars and pull my head out of my ass. I have had some good training in the order following ranks and some humor. I may go into humorous conversations pretty soon, because there's more humor in that job than anyone will lend that you ever believe. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be any humor in anything related to that in the future with what's going on right now. And people are starting to realize that these jobs aren't all they're cut out to be. But there's many people I see who are looking at Nazi-like activities right now, and they're defending it because they don't want to have to say they were wrong. It's so hard to say you're wrong. I promise you, when you can admit you were wrong about any given thing, your life gets so much easier. It's not that you run around flipping and don't care about nothing. I don't ever care. I don't care about being wrong. I'll just admit I'm wrong. No. That's not it. What it is if you actually make a mistake on something, if you're mistaking in a piece of knowledge, let's just say, and the real answer to something or the real information is brought to your attention and you can verify it, it's okay to say, hey, as far as such and such was concerned, I may have been wrong on that because of A, B, and C. It's not a big deal. You don't have to die on every hill that you take, so to speak. All right. So, with that said, no new news coming up here. Let me see if I have any notes on anything. I usually make notes. I usually have a little bit of something written out on what I want to talk about if I don't have no guests, and I haven't really had no guests in this format yet. I still got to get used to using this format. I may have to do some practice runs with Discord. I'm not a gamer in the sense of knowing how to use Discord real well, so this is where I'm at. Okay, yeah, no notes. You can find my work on YouTube at Spiritual Anarchist Daniel AR 5907. I'm also on the OneGreatWorkNetwork.com, where there's over 80 other content creators who are speaking the truth of the real problems in the world, which is not adhering to objective morality and speaking the truth on what your actual real rights are, what a right is, what a wrong is, and it's real spiritual alignment with cause and effect. It's really understanding the laws of attraction, and there is finer nuances to karmic law, cause and effect, law of causation, natural law. There's nuances because your thoughts and your intentions do have a vibration, do have a resonance. And I'm starting to learn more and more that even based on those things, there is an attraction point in this mirroring universe. But it responds most strongly to actions, okay? Which is why the powers that shouldn't be, the powers that pretend they are, they control how they think about what they want, about their dirty deeds and desires, and then they have someone else actually take the real world actions to go about getting those things, and that's what order followers do. And in this way, they mitigate the negative consequential effects of karma. This is how the bad guys keep winning. So if we want the bad guys not to win, it's going to take training people on what real morals are, what real morality is, and that it's wrong to murder, it's wrong to steal, and it's wrong to coerce. And you name one government in human history that hasn't done those things. If you do, I'll admit I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong on that. And there may be one or two little villages here or there, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in the whole. But anyways, if questions for the soul, I want to see what this is about. Where's my glasses? Let me put my glasses on. The authors would like to dedicate this book to Italy, which has been good for their souls. I want to go there someday. Mel Gibson was in Italy, and from Italy, he said that so many people are physically fit there, and they have pasta, bread, and cheese diets because they're all made from real grain and real food and real nutrients. So no one's getting fat off that stuff. Here in this country, our food's being poisoned. If you have that kind of diet in this country, people are going to know it. All right, so let's see here. Questions for the soul. If God were to grant you one favor, what would you ask? Oh, that's a big one. Favor. So this is like a personal favor. I'd want to talk to my mom again, knowing everything she knows. And this is what she knows now after death as well. But she's back to her right brain. See, I've died twice, and I haven't crossed all the way over, but I know what it's like to have an out-of-body experience when my heart actually stopped. And I talked about it in my book, Rise from Darkness, and I was actually in the corner of the ceiling. I was on the table. I remember seeing the lights above me, but I also remember looking down at 12 medical staff around me and doctors and all the lights that I could see from above, too. And they had to do like emergency surgery on me. My lung collapsed. I got hit by a car, was knocked 50 feet through the air. I was only 6 years old. I'm sure there was a big dent on the car because even back then I was kind of Thor-like. But I'm joking. Um, I'd want to talk to her because the last 5, 6 years she was alive, she had issues with the brain, and she really didn't even know who I was. I'd like to go back and be able to talk to her one more time because that's a personal favor. All right. So if you could make one thing come true for the good of all souls on this planet, what would it be? It would be human freedom. True freedom through adherence to objective morality. To understand that the 7 deadly sins are warnings against excess, and that the real 7 deadly sins are don't murder, don't assault, don't steal, don't rape, don't trespass, coerce, or knowingly lie. When you do those things, you make yourself an attraction point for bad juju. To get people to understand this occulted science, even at the most rudimentary base foundational levels. If we had that, we wouldn't have wars right now. Again, for more of that, go to the One Great Work Network.com and look at the over 80 content creators that are on there who all teach this from their standpoint, from their point of view, from their experiences, and in a different way. There are some people on there that can go from being very compassionate to sounding like the roughest football coach you ever heard, then go back to being compassionate because they got control of their emotions. I'm one of those people. And I'll never change. This has been me from the beginning. I'll never change. All right, if you had to name a time when you could say that you were spiritually repressed, when would it be? I was spiritually repressed in 2001. During that time frame of 98 to 2001, I was living a good life. I wasn't a bad person, but I had no clue what was going on in the world. Therefore, I was spiritually repressed. And it was self-induced. I don't blame anyone else but myself because knowledge has been around my whole life. It's definitely findable. But you don't find it till you start to seek it. And unfortunately, it usually takes some type of deep trauma and pain before you start to, the only thing you can be is strong. And you start to seek higher knowledge. You start to seek answers to things. And unfortunately, 2001 was not that time frame for me. It just really wasn't. Again, I wasn't a bad person, but I was definitely spiritually repressed. All right, so if you were to identify where the majority of your fears in life come from, what would you say? All fear comes from ego. I wrote a book called Violence and Ego, and we go back and forth. Sometimes you can be out of your ego, other times you're going to be back in it. Your ego is you, okay? But fear for me always comes from ego because it comes from past traumas, and your ego seeks to keep you safe. It seeks to keep you from taking risks. It seeks to it'll fool you. It'll make you think something bad's coming when nothing bad is coming. Ego is what makes you fear what other people are going to think about you. This is why when I came out and started talking, and I wrote the book, Rise from Darkness, I came out the gate with what my, bad habits and problems were. Because once you do that, and you've gotten over them, people can't use those things against you. That's conquering fear. That took a little bit of courage. So that my secret is I've always been afraid at one point or another, to one degree or another, but I've always had love under courage, love under will, the willpower to have courage. And love is the underlying law of all things. And fear comes from ego. So for me personally, I know it's been an ego run amok at times. I've fallen back into my ego before. And I will again. The thing is the secret is the more and more you're aware of it, the quicker you can pull yourself out of it and begin to practice the pause. Begin to become smarter. Work smarter. Work easier, not harder. And then you respond instead of reply, instead of react. You reply and respond instead of react. A lot of times when we're in that reactionary mode, that's out of fear, which is ego. Okay, I'm not saying being a plot planning, conniving, scheming piece of shit either. All right, there's a balance here. Okay, but for me, it's definitely ego. Um, let's see. Uh, let's see. All right, let me continue. Let me continue. Where am I at? Yeah, that was ego. All right, if you could have changed one thing in the life of someone now deceased, what would it be? Huh. Boy, there's so many things that come to mind. This is just so much. Uh, my father-in-law was pretty lonely at the end. Last few years of his life, he was lonely. If I could change one thing, I wish he wouldn't have been as lonely. I believe some people die when they're lonely. I believe that drives them to. Um, I think he died of loneliness personally. I don't wish that upon anybody. We're meant to have people that are around us that love us and that we love. Okay, number doesn't know number. If heaven had to look like the inside of one of your friends' homes, whose home would you pick? That's Rodney and April. I would live in their bathroom. It's amazing what they've done with their house and their yard and everything else. Completely amazing. And it's just a big bungalow house. It's not. It's like looks like so many others, but they not the way what they've done with it. It's amazing. Everyone, hopefully you know someone like that. And you walk in their bathroom and it's like a break. It's pretty magical actually. If you could make one person you know more religious, who would you pick? Absolutely nobody. Religion is the bane of humanity. It's a control mechanism. I wouldn't want to make nobody more religious. Okay? Religion is belief without no science. And I'm more about gnosis. That's why I like the Gnostic texts. Gnosis means to know. It means knowledge. All right, if you could make one person in the world less religious, who would you select? Everybody who follows any of the Abrahamic religions that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. They're contradicting and they're used as an excuse to take people's land and murder each other. I'm not going to get into anything more. I am a very spiritual person. I believe in the prophets. I believe in Jesus. He was a prophet. I just don't have the same beliefs that other people have regarding people who tell the truth. The people who made the book of Revelations, in my opinion, they knew what was coming in 3,000 years. They knew what was coming. It's not hard mathematically, if you know it, to see what's going to be happening. And they talked about in those days, there will be false prophets. Oh, like the prophets that you had in your days, you actually respected. They were real ones according to you. That's why you murdered all of them or tortured all of them. Okay, dum-dums, listen. False prophets, you know what that means? That means people who are telling the truth and they don't want you to know. They also call us conspiracy theorists. Or thinking. I'm not even going to say think critically, just start thinking. Let's see. If you could have witnessed one religious event, which one would you choose? Our Lady of Padua, the movie about the three kids who had visions of the Mother Mary who came to them, because I think that was extraterrestrial. I would like to have seen that. That would have been pretty cool to see. Any hands-on healing that resulted in a miracle of somebody really healing, that would be amazing to see as well. Let's see what else. If there was a time when the death of someone touched your sense of morality the most, when would it be? This question here, since I'm somebody who understands that morality is objective, so I don't have a sense of morality. I have a knowledge of morality. If I was to answer this question honestly, I'd say the death of everybody that's going on right now in all the worlds touches my sense of morality because I know how immoral it actually is. So my sense of morality is definitely touched by all the murder going on in the world. Unnecessary death. Death without cause or deserving. If there was a time when, despite your resistance, a change in your life turned out to be for the better, when would you say it was? Most certainly after my first divorce. She kind of ripped out my heart in 1998, and life did get a lot better after that, and I improved as a person in a lot of ways. And I think that time is coming again because these upheavals in our lives generally do that. Okay, the kind of person I am, I've always risen like a phoenix out of the ashes. I'll never stay down. You know, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down. Yeah, it's like that. I'll feel sorry for myself and have self-pity for a while, and then I'm like, all right, enough's enough. Maybe that's just the way I was raised, growing up in the inner city with a bad life, with a bad stepdad, who actually, to me, and I mean bad, like very abusive, not new agey today, where kids just don't want to be told what to do. Where kids don't want to be told that they can't stay up all night and party. There's other people in the house that you have to have consideration for. There's a big difference in what's going on today. It's all been the millennials are completely shot. That's a shot generation. They're mind controlled, and I feel bad for them. All right. Let me see. Here's the next one. If you found out you did have a guardian angel, what would you name it? I've got 5 spirit guides. I've been told this by multiple psychics who are very gifted. I had the light bulb story I told, how it flashed on and off very slowly 5 times in my garage. I think my guardian angels are going to have all the nicknames of the 7 dwarfs, except there's 5 of them. They're going to be like the 7 dwarfs from Cinderella. I'm pretty sure they're sleepy, tired, can't wait till they get their next assignment. I'm sure they've got a bunch of nicknames. All right. If you had to pick the single most spiritual moment of your life so far, when would it be? Oh, this could bring tears to my eyes. Giving birth to my 2 daughters, not giving birth myself, but helping my wife birth my 2 children and being there for that amazing thing. It was crazy. It was beautiful. Let's see, what's next? If you were to say there was a time in your life when your emotional attachment to someone was detrimental, when would it be? Oh boy. That's kind of personal. That's real personal. And that's kind of recent as well in the last couple years. I'm going to pass that question for security purposes. I'm going to move on. If tomorrow you lost the person you love the most in the world, how would your life change? Now, what a question that is for us to ask ourselves. And maybe not just the one person you love the most in your life, but all the people who you love in your life, even the ones you're arguing with. How would that change? How would that help you to forgive them? Do you want to be at their funeral crying because you didn't treat them good in life? Yeah. Maybe the petty arguments you're in with people would change. I think that's what would change. When I was on my deathbed, I remember this voice coming to my head. I just kept hearing it over and over again. It wasn't mine. It said only love and discernment could drive out hate and fear. See, it said love and discernment. Discernment can drive out hate and fear. Not love and debate. Only love and debating and winning a debate. Correct. Incorrect. That didn't happen. That's not how I see it. Yeah. Debating is bullshit. I don't care if you're a master debater. It doesn't mean you're right. That just means you might be really good at being wrong. Love and discernment is what drives out hate and fear. If you had to name the single most important ingredient for a spiritual life, what would you say it is? Let go of the need to control everything. I had to relearn this in recent years too. So this isn't something I'm saying from a guru standpoint. Like, you have to learn to not worry about what you don't know and release what you can't control. And don't try to control outcomes or other people. You can lay down some information and hope they pick up what you're putting down. And then you just keep putting it down. Turning the other cheek, so to speak, when they slap you. By not understanding what you're putting down. You just keep going. And I've had good teachers that have done that with me, and I'm very grateful for it. Really letting go of the need to know everything and control everything. That's your ego, and that's coming from fear. Your ego, it comes from a space of fear. I understand this. And it's something it's a garden that has weeds in it that has to be weeded from time to time. I understand this too. I accept it. It's cool. It's all right. I think when you try to deny it, disown it, fragment it off as something that isn't there, that's when you end up in some type of internal conflict. And I think just embracing it is the best way to live a more balanced, life. Personally, if you had to choose one way that God's existence could be proven to the world at large, what would be the most convincing way to actually get people to understand that they have a spark of the divine within you? If you go to the more esoteric teachings, the Eastern Orthodox teachings, the Gnostic teachings, that supposedly had the word of Jesus in those Gnostic teachings. God is in everything. God is all around us. God is the creative force of everything. All is mind, right? We are fragments of God. We have that spark of the divine within us. Jesus was trying to teach that. And people said, oh, he thinks he's the Son of God. Yeah, he does. And you are too, and so am I, and so is that other person. Now, I do think there's some automatons around. Don't get me wrong. I think we've got some NPCs that are soulless. But the majority of us with souls, all of us with souls, have the spark of the divine within us. Right. If you could have God's existence personally proved to you in one way, what would it be? I've already seen God's work. I've already seen God's work through miracles, through nature, through things that are too hard to explain. I'll be able to explain them better someday. But there's just some things that everything is God. God's not some bearded guy glowing in the desert sky. That's othering God. That's a very human thing to do. I don't other God, and I won't pretend to completely understand God any more than an ant's going to understand me as a human being. That's already been proved to me. There is a God. Or that which you want to call God. If you could, for the good of mankind, reverse one scientific discovery or development, what would it be? Oh, goodness. Vaccines. All of them. Fuck them. If one or two of them did good, great. But the majority of them are here poisoning us. Creating diseases and issues for the pharmaceutical companies to get rich off of. Yeah, so definitely get rid of all of them. Also, well, yeah, okay, well, I'll let that go. I'm gonna continue. I'll just stop right there. I can do a whole show on that. I could pick one of these out and do a whole show on it. Maybe that's what I'll start doing. All right. So one thing you presently own. If one thing you presently own were to become a religious relic, what would it be? Hmm. Well, my Mjolnir hammer that I wear as a necklace, that's kind of is a religious relic. That's what it would be. If I had to pick something that isn't already a religious relic, I would say maybe my long pipe that I got from the Shire that I smoke sometimes. Cherry tobacco. All right, moving on. If you decided today to do some serious soul searching, what would be the first question you'd ask yourself? Do I really want to stay where I'm at, or do I want to just travel the world? Do I want to go to maybe a tropical deserted island? Where would I want to go? Would I have to go anywhere? Can I just sit here and be happy, just doing nothing? Just allowing the world around me as it is. As long as I'm not in danger, no one else around me is in danger. All right. If you were to sell your soul for one thing, what would you do it for? I wouldn't sell my soul. Sorry. I wouldn't sell my soul. Not for sale. And I think some beings are going to find that shit out. I've seen God at work. I fear no devil. I fear no enemies. I've seen God's work. Oh boy, if you had to pick the most sacred spot you've ever seen, where would it be? It'd be this grove. It'd be this wooded grove with a little stream by it in Oberlin, Ohio. I won't name it, but there's a very spiritual grove there. All right. If you were asked to make the case for the non-existence of God, how would you begin? I personally wouldn't try to make that case. Now, I would make the case for the non-existence of the desert sky god, three variants of the same god. And I would make that case by simply saying, God doesn't give you free will and also want blood sacrifices. Okay, all right, can we move to the next thing? That's how I would make the case, as simply as possible. Throw the contradiction of what that is right in their face. Sorry, folks, that's not God. And the stuff about slavery and how to treat your slaves in the New Testament, Jesus didn't do that shit. That was written by men after Jesus had died, or it moved on. All right, if you were to die tomorrow, how would you want to go? Oh boy. You know when they're putting you under for surgery and they give you they give you the happy juice that just makes you not care about anything? I like to be in that state for a while and then slowly put out, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's how I'd really want to go. I'll have to think about that one. All right. If you were to assign people you know to represent each other. Oh, wait a minute. If you were to assign people you know to represent each of the virtues and vices, who would that be? Well, that's a tough one. That's a lot. I know a lot of people. That's just too hard to answer. That's like, oh, I can't do that one. All right. If you had to honestly rate your own ego on a comparative scale of 1 to 10, with the average human scoring 5, where would you place it? I'm probably at a 4. Maybe just slightly below what the average human is. I'm not like floating around, egoless. Your ego has a very healthy function. I'd say maybe a 4. Who knows? Maybe a 5. I mean, probably a 4. If you had to remember a time in your life when your own self-esteem was at its lowest, when would you say it was? Oh, yeah. 2014. That was definitely during my government service. Yeah, it was bad. And that's what they want. They want automatons. They want They want drones. The drone 75.65 reporting as ordered, sir. That's all they want. Yeah, you become soulless in that job. If you could take one possession with you into the afterlife, assuming there is one, what would you take? I don't care about things. I would take my replica Marvel um, Thor hammer. It's 8 pounds of solid aluminum, and you can catch a case with that hammer if you really wanted to. I would definitely take the replica of Thor's hammer with me. Um, if you were to be accompanied by anyone into the next world, who would you take? Well, there is a special lady that I would take, but if not her, my dog Knuckles, for sure. All right, if you could help one person you know find their inner spirit, who would it be? Man, I kind of like to help everyone find that inner spirit. Uh, I do have a person who I've had an issue with in the last couple of years who has a lot of. I hope he heals from certain things. I hope he heals. I would like him to find some good inner spirit. I mean that wholeheartedly, with all my heart. I hope he would find some inner spirit and some healing and have the ability to discern some things and really look in the mirror at some things. 'Cause it's never too late to change your life and become a good person, a better person. And only time you cross that line is when you've actually murdered somebody or hurt somebody bad physically. Um, Now, you can come close when you threaten people and hit people, or you try to assault somebody or this or that. But sometimes you face karma for that, and you've paid the karma. Now look in the mirror and do some work. But yeah, there is somebody that I would hope can do that. I'm not going to say who it is. Um, if someone you know personally had to become the next pope, who would you want that to be? I would really have to hate somebody very, very, very badly for them to want to become the next pope. I'd probably want to hate. I probably would have to hate myself as well. I really don't think I'd wish any that upon anybody, to be honest. I just wouldn't. It's not worth going in the library down below. I mean, to be in that position, pretending to be the God on earth for the fake God in the desert sky. Can't do it. If you had to name the best aspect of any single religion, what would it be? I think the best aspect of all the religions are the ones that speak to, when you look at what their good message is, right? Piety, charity, humility, forgiveness. Those are Christian. Those are good. All right. The pillars of Islam, those are good. So there's these different beliefs within these religious systems, and they put good stuff in them, but then they have all the other contradicting, real confusing messages in there to get people, excuses to be violent. Yeah, there's that. If you had to name the worst aspect of any single religion, what would it be? Blindless faith and the belief that others are doomed if they don't follow your belief in what happens to us after we die. Boy, they've got a lot of religious stuff going in this book. Let me see. Okay, here's a big one. If you had to name the one thing you most regret about life, about your life, up to this point, what would it be? Honestly, I'll circle that question right back into what I said in the beginning. Forgiveness is when you no longer wish you could change the past. But honestly, I no longer wish I could change the past. I don't think there's anything that I regret at this point. I've learned something even from the bad things. I'm where I'm at because of the bad things and the good things. And it's that acceptance that we come to in our lives that I think helps us move forward in peace. Okay? With that said, folks, nothing but love. See you next week. Maybe I'll have a more structured one next week for everybody. Peace. Stay safe.